They expect you to be the expert of not just real estate, but all
Right.
area.
Right.
Everything within that. Who's the best dentist? Where's the best restaurant? Where should I go for this? And you need to be kind of catered concierge to your
Yeah.
clients. First and foremost, you're selling them on a lifestyle in a town.
Yes.
Before you even see a home, they need to love the town. They need to love what they do there. They need to see themselves living in that life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sell them the house. But knowing all those ins and outs is how you get them there.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today's guest was a firefighter and paramedic for over 12 years before transitioning into real estate. He is consistently a top producer at his brokerage with only 3.5 years in the business. Let's welcome Daniel Hulett of One Sotheby's International Realty to the show.
Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate you having
Came
me.
all the way down from Fernandina.
Yep.
Are you in Fernandina Beach or Fernandina?
So as a local, we don't differentiate the two.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so locals will say Fernandina Beach or Fernandina, and we always know tourists when they come in, they'll say Amelia Island, which has now become our broader marketing is we say Amelia Island just because
Right.
It sounds
Because Amelia Island is all part of the Fernandina.
correct. Fernandina is on the island of Amelia Island, but
Yeah.
we just all call it Fernandina.
So you could tell the
Beach.
difference between an outsider, not by how. Well, I imagine for prestige, they want to say Amelia Island,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, exactly.
And then you have to differentiate yourself from Yulee, right? That's another line
That's
of
right.
demarcation.
That's right. So when we were younger, anything over the bridge onto Amelia Island was Yulee, and you didn't go OTB over the bridge. We didn't
Right,
do it.
right.
But now they've annexed in, and it's Fernandina Beach almost all the way out.
So you grew up there.
I did.
You go to Fernandina okay, Fernandina
Beach,
High.
Yeah, there was no Yulee High then.
No, in Fernandina, you got to go out there a little bit, right? If I'm not mistaken, I officiate high school football, so but it's been years since I've been out there. I'm trying to remember because the only high schools you got is Yulee and Fernandina, right? There's no is it? And that's you got
Correct until you get on the
West
west side
Nassau.
of the county.
Yeah,
West Nassau and Hilliard.
Yeah, good school out there, at least for they treat the officials well. But for Fernandina, you kind of have to go out and get up on the island a little bit.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
on the island.
Yeah,
central of the island. Yep.
Yeah. I do want to talk about our sponsor, who is from your area, the Remy Graphics.
Oh, yeah.
These are made very local to you up there. If I can get in the camera there, I got the engraving of the show, and obviously Remy Graphics on the back. You have one of these in your gift bag there. She makes these for me. What's great, and she's really local, she'll make one-offs. So if you just want to make it for a closing gift, you want to put John and Sally, welcome to Fernandina, Amelia Island, or whatever you want to call it, right? She'll make one-offs for you. Any laser engraved gifts, these are just the mugs. So you want to go to remygraphics.com, remygraphics.com. I'll put that up on the screen real quick and check out what it'll do for you there.
Very neat.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Fernandina? I mean, because I imagine it's much different today. And I say that because I grew up on Cape Cod. I moved to Cape Cod in the late 70s.
Okay.
My parents used to vacation there through the 60s and early 70s and decided to move there. Took the whole 6 of us moved to Cape Cod. And obviously beachfront, but it was like untouched territory.
Right.
Versus now. Now, one thing great about Cape Cod is there's no high rises on the beach, which, it's not like Daytona or anything. I mean, it's very protected. John F. Kennedy with the Kennedy National Seashore protected a lot of those places before those things could happen.
Right.
But tell us, what was it like growing up in Fernandina, and then what you're seeing, the growth, and you got what's that huge new subdivision going in?
Wildlight.
Wildlight going in there, and how is that changing the dynamics?
Yeah. So growing up, it was a quiet beach town. We were pretty much supported by the local mill. It was a blue-collar town. We always had the south end where it was developed. The Amelia Island Plantation, Ritz-Carlton came in, but it was a very quiet little beach town. No high-rises.
How many kids in your high school class? Do you remember?
Maybe
Couple
400 or so.
Maybe, okay.
Maybe.
everybody sort of knew each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't get in trouble back then. Because everybody, anywhere you went, somebody knew who you were. And, even
Right.
if I didn't know them, I know who your parents are.
Yeah, exactly.
So my time was split between my father lived in Amelia Island and my mom lived in Neptune Beach.
Okay.
So I was split between the two. So Amelia Island now is kind of how the beaches used to be when I was a kid. So the beaches were quiet too, comparatively. Now they're wild. But, the island has seen growth, but it's fairly limited because there's only so much you can do. It's limited inventory, limited space.
Right.
So they've done a fairly decent
Planning
job.
and zoning has kept control.
They have.
Right,
They
yeah.
have. And their zoning is so good about limiting a lot of things from coming in, which is good, I think. Which can be challenging on the real estate side. I'm kind of stuck in between two worlds.
Right.
One as a local where I don't want anything else to come. and then on the other side of the real estate, it's, I could use,
Well, it's not the last seashore, but it's because being in the northern part of the state, obviously we do have a little cold come in, right? Being greater Jacksonville, and obviously you're further north than I am because I'm in basically St. Johns County. We still have those half a dozen days a year we might get some frost, type of thing. The only other place that's untouched in Florida is, I think, as you go around the bend and Panhandle, Tallahassee, coming in there, and the Gulf of Mexico is still very rural.
Right.
But it's starting to fill in that area. Obviously, being close to 95, being close to the airport's important.
It is.
As people are coming into the state and going, hey, where can I live? Well, to me, I like to compare St. Augustine to the Amelia Island, Fernandina Beach area. I think it's very similar in their, just the way that, they have the downtown area where you can go walk to shops and stuff. Yeah.
They're very comparable.
Yeah.
St. Augustine's probably a little bit larger, and especially their population is much larger. But
Is it really, you think? I have to check that.
Well, I don't know. I would say the tourism probably increases their population, but as far as permanent residents, I don't know.
Well, I think Amelia is overlooked a lot of times. What was funny when I first moved here in 2009, my wife's from Jacksonville. She went to Sandalwood High School. And people were like, I live in St. Augustine. Oh, St. Augustine. I'm like, I didn't even know what St. Augustine was until my wife said we need to move back closer to her parents, and we're going to live in St. Johns County because of the schools, because we wanted to start a family. And I did not realize how popular St. Augustine was. Oh, yeah. But it just tells me that just means Amelia Island and the greater Fernandina area is often bypassed on 95.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially from tourism. I think our tourism is not near to the scale that St. Augustine is.
It could be, yeah.
But we definitely have quite a bit of seasonal homeowners and, just permanent residents as well.
Yeah, because it's changing now because the schools in Nassau County are reputable. You do have a lot of, which St. Johns County does too. We still have a lot of area west of 95.
That's right.
That's wide open out all the way out to the river. And you guys have that same situation out there. So you are seeing more of your, just common day working people moving here because of the jobs, whether it's at the airport or, obviously the port or whatever. I mean, I guess that's a good question, actually. Where are the people that you're working with coming in that are going to be full-time residents? Where are they working? We're kind of coming into Jacksonville, or?
So most of mine are retired.
Most of you retired? Okay. Well, that tells us the clientele that we're working with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So either retired or seasonal homeowners and quite a few investors as well. But we are seeing people moving in that are working in healthcare is a big field for us.
Well, if you got retirees, you're going to follow it with the.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mayo brings quite a few of our retirees to this area.
Yeah.
But as far as, the working people that are still working, we get a lot of people from the ports, from Mayport, from Kings Bay. We're stuck right in between the two.
Yeah.
So they go to either a lot of the hospitals, a lot of the airport, Amazon centers, really anywhere.
Right. Right.
Because we have such easy access to I-95.
Well, I think you're going to see. You're catching up to St. John's, in my opinion. This is just a total observation per se. I think you're catching up to St. John's as far as the growth. Obviously, this Wildlight subdivision is huge. I forget, it's going all the way up to the Georgia line, right?
It is. And it's almost mimicking what St. Augustine has, or St. Johns County has with
a lot of planned urban.
Nocatee.
Yeah.
They're fairly similar. It's kind of like the little brother to.
And you have a lot of diverse different neighborhoods within this greater plan.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it's just in the alpha stages right now. It's still so new, so early. I think it's 40-year plan.
Because you say a lot of your retirees coming, are you seeing? Does this Wildlight have a 55-year-old community going?
Does. Yeah,
are we seeing some activity there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. I know Del Webb out in Nocatee was like the thing.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I think, one of the original neighborhoods, if I'm not mistaken. From what what I've been told by agents, it's one of those original neighborhoods that actually still was built with cinder blocks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. They produce a good product.
Yeah. And they have those original homes. I don't know how long ago. I think it was before Nocatee became Nocatee. They were built, but they actually have, what do you call it? The safe rooms in the house.
Really?
Yeah. There's a cinder block home with a safe room because, you know, hurricane, tornado, whatever, and how often they use it. It's probably, most people probably have it stuffed with just stuff.
Yeah. Storage closet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So you're graduating from Fernandina High.
Yep.
What are you thinking about? What does Daniel want to do? Because I looked on your LinkedIn. You didn't mention anything about any college or anything like that. What are you doing at 18, 19 years old?
Floundering.
Floundering.
Trying to find my way. You know, I had no idea what the heck I wanted to do. I tried my hand at, back then it was FCCJ or FSCJ now.
Right.
You know, and I couldn't stay focused or do anything. I didn't have a clue what my direction was. I was changing my major every week. So that didn't work. And then I ran into a friend of mine who was a firefighter with JFRD, Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know, basically, frankly, what are you doing with your life? And I said, I have no idea. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, you enjoy surfing, you enjoy traveling, you enjoy XYZ.
Right.
Try firefighting. And I said, you know, what the heck? What do I have to lose? Why not?
Right.
So I did, and I went to fire school, and it was a phenomenal career. It was great.
Yeah.
And I was actually with Fernandina for 15 years, so it was really.
You need to update your LinkedIn.
I do. It's been a minute. I actually don't get on LinkedIn very often, but apparently people are looking at it, so I need to.
Well, I troll everybody on there.
There you go. But fantastic career. You know, it teaches you so many life lessons. You know, how to stay structured, how to good bedside manner, which prepares you for real estate in the future.
Yeah.
To handle a lot of criticism, to handle a lot of stress. It's just, it was great. And
define the criticism there. I want to grab in that. Like, just from the training standpoint, or because you guys have to be so, like, you know, you got to do it right, and you only have one time to do it.
That's right. So we heard on the training side from our officers before, you even handle any call.
Right.
You're hearing it. There's only one correct way to do it. There's not multiple ways. There's one.
Right.
So you hear critiquing, and it's, you know, you're perfecting your craft. And then you hear it from the physicians or the nurses when you drop them off. Hey, you messed up here. Okay. And then you hear it from, I hate to say clientele, but the people, your patients that you're picking up as well. You know, they're going to critique you. So you're molding yourself.
I never thought about that.
From every different
actually.
Angle, everybody's, you know.
So you go pick up somebody. Let's just say it's not a catastrophic event, but you go to pick up somebody and they, how do they critique? I can't even imagine that.
It's not so much on I shouldn't say critiquing. It's more just humbling yourself and keeping your mouth shut. Because sometimes, you know, they
can be nasty.
Well, and they have a lot to say.
Yeah.
And so you just, you know, yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I'm here to help.
Well, there's no doubt you see a lot of humanity.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
In that you have to go into areas that, you know, you wouldn't typically go by choice.
Right.
Or go in someone's home and maybe they're elderly and it's, you know, they're being neglected by their family or whatever, you know, those type of thing. I just imagine that is a humbling part of it. I imagine it gave you a great opportunity, obviously, to meet a lot of people, though.
Absolutely.
In Fernandina. You not only grew up there, but then to spend 15 years on the force there to just really build a lot of relationships with a lot of different people in the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And luckily positive ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the hardest transition, though, you do meet a ton of people, but the hardest transition was getting people to forget I was a firefighter.
Yeah.
And now I'm in real estate.
Yeah.
Because for 15 years, that's all they knew. And, you know, they know you more than you know them.
Right.
You've either been to them or to their aunt or their mom or their grandma or whoever, and they just see you around town in your uniform and on the truck. And
Right.
So to transition out of that into real estate.
So I imagine your first year, that's a challenge.
It was extremely hard.
What are some of the things that worked, some of the things that didn't work in trying to make that transition of how they saw you?
Yeah, the biggest thing that worked was staying in touch with people, you know, staying top of mind, really pushing social media to remind everybody, hey, I am not a firefighter anymore.
Right.
But it was a slow transition because I was still practicing real estate while I was at the fire department. So
how long did you overlap there?
Roughly a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're working your shifts.
Yeah.
How do they work it up there? Like 3 days on, 4 days off type of thing?
1 day on, 2 days off if we're lucky.
Okay.
So if you're a short man, you get.
They got to call you in.
You got to go stuck there another day. But for the most part, it's 24 hours on, 48 hours off.
Yeah. What brings real estate just into your mind? Just like it's something to think about, you know, and how long did you think about before you actually went and took the class?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the whole backstory on how I got into real estate. So my wife owns a property management concierge company, which
That's a good intro into it.
it's a fantastic lead generation source. So she doesn't do the property management per se on the rental side. It's seasonal homeowners. She'll care for their home while they're gone.
Right.
Check in on it, make sure AC, plumbing, all things are working.
Right.
She did have one rental, and one of the renters called us one day and said, "Hey, you guys are real estate agents, right?" And we said, "No, we're not." "Why?" And she said, "Oh, I want to buy this condo." And I said, "Oh, well, I can refer you to a friend of mine." And she ended up buying the condo for, I don't know, I think it was like $1.5 million or 1.8 million or something.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
she said, "I want to close in 2 weeks in cash." And my friend called me a week or so later and said, "Hey, thanks for the referral. It's the easiest transaction I've ever done. And I made X amount of dollars on it." And I said, "Well, I'll never do that again."
Right.
So I signed up for real estate school the next week. Fantastic person. Still glad that they had that transaction.
Yeah.
She's a great agent.
Yeah. So you go to take the class.
Yep.
Now you have to decide where you're going to hang your license.
Yes.
What criteria do you go through? And you're a local boy, so you probably know a lot of real estate agents already and a lot of different brokerages and so forth. How do you come, because you end up with this one, it's with Sotheby's, right?
Correct.
What was the
Prior it was First Coast Sotheby's.
Okay, became one?
Correct.
Okay, so same. You've been with the basically same. Acquired. Okay.
So prior to Sotheby's, I was with Keller Williams.
Okay.
That was my original license, which is this friend that I referred.
Where he was
prior to. Yeah, she was with Keller, and I trusted her. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she was willing to kind of help me out. So I said, "Hey, this is probably my better opportunity."
Okay. So you had somewhat of a little mentor, so forth. How experienced was this person at that time?
Very.
Okay.
Her actual bachelor's is in real estate.
Okay.
So she is probably one of the more knowledgeable people.
Like to think so.
Yeah.
But she's doing it for a while, so she was a great mentor. She'd had enough at-bats to pass the experience to you.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And Keller Williams has such a good program with teaching and staying on top of it. They have really great mentorship program.
Yeah.
So I did that for quite a while. Then another friend approached me with actually at the time it was First Coast Sotheby's.
Right.
He was a part owner, one of four, and he was the acting broker. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come over to us?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, why?" And then we went down the laundry list, and it was just a better fit for my clientele.
One of the challenges that I think, there's two challenges I think are the greatest two challenges that I've experienced in 200 plus 220 real estate agents that I've had on the show. There's two parts in their career that they have challenges on. One, and many of them, there's many people I will never speak to because they made the first choice was the wrong one. And I believe it's the brokerage that they decide to hang their license with. Some people will fight through it if they made a bad choice and find someone else. I think many fall out because they choose the wrong brokerage to start with.
Sure.
And are out pretty quickly.
Yeah, you have to find a good fit.
Yeah. So what did you find? And Keller Williams obviously is known, kind of like, and I think in this area, Watson's another one where they will bring in green agents, train them. They provide all that resources and so forth for that. What was it that and this is Keller Williams, which franchise are we talking about?
Atlantic Partners.
Oh, it is Atlantic Partners. Okay. So obviously they have a great reputation in Northeast Florida. So
fantastic.
Yeah. What was it in that office that you caught? Now, obviously you were fortunate that you had a friend who was also mentoring you, but what were some of the things that when you look back and if a friend asked you today, "Hey, I'd like to get into real estate," you would say, "Okay, hey, these are the things that I found that really helped me." What were the things that were in that office that you felt really helped you in any way stay focused, set you on the right path so you weren't failing too many times? And
yeah, sure. Yeah. Accountability. They're big on accountability.
Mm-hmm.
What's your goal? And you set it. You set your goal. What's your goal? And they will help you maintain and reach that goal.
Yeah.
As much as they can. That and the training that they do for a green agent is invaluable. They do consistent daily trainings. Whatever fits your need, they have something for it. And if they don't have that, they have a Zoom for it, or they have a lot
of them are with technology have a huge library of videos
right.
and so forth, obviously.
That's right. And they always have somebody you can call on. Their aid is probably one of the best.
Do you think that's one of the most important things, especially as a new agent?
As a new agent, learning the foundation of real estate is everything.
Yeah.
Contract is keeping yourself out of trouble and your customers out of trouble. Learning your contracts, they're heavy on learning, the ins and outs of every contract. And
especially now with everyone using the FAR contract, right?
That's right.
Threw everybody off a little bit, and then everyone's focused on, obviously trying to learn that.
That's right.
you've obviously seen a lot of people come in and out of the business.
Absolutely.
And the accountability piece. When you tell someone, oh, I'm going to hold you accountable, a lot of people like want to get defensive is not really the word. They don't want to be held accountable, right? I mean, who wants to tell you, like you said, the people were critiquing you as a firefighter or paramedic, right? You know, who wants that? But because of your background, you were just open to that critique, criticism, you know, whatever you want to call it, and holding you accountable because of your background. Did it just come natural for you, or did you actually have to change your mindset to be like, I got to let this person hold me accountable and I've got to do it?
No, the background probably helped, and they,
because the young Daniel before he became a firefighter probably wouldn't have.
Oh no, I would have bucked the system.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. You know, I've always welcomed growth. I just never had a direction. I just never knew where to put that energy.
Right.
But no, when they come to you with the critiquing and with the accountability, it was welcomed with open arms. And I don't know whether that was just my nature, or that was through the fire department, or the way they.
Well, you're now 15 years mature.
That's right.
Than you were when you were pre-firefighter.
Right.
Yeah.
And they just handle it so well. You know, Mark Dilworth, I'll give him full credit. He's just a really good person and a great leader, who was my kind of shadowing, or who I was working under, Ed Keller. He's phenomenal. You know, when we met prior, and I set my own goals.
Right.
So he's just adhering to just following along with what I told him. Mm-hmm. So.
Because you were fortunate enough to have this friend already, so it kind of was a natural mentorship, you know, however you guys, you know, create. You had a friend that, you know, you could pick up the phone call, they're going to answer it, right? Yep. Someone coming in to even a Keller Williams or any of these other brokerages, a new person, doesn't necessarily always have that sense that because they don't have the pre-friend relationship, to have that kind of open line. Right. How important is, you know, if you had someone, maybe a friend of yours that was down in St. Augustine, so it doesn't have your friend or anyone in your office, what should they do to try to find, when they're trying to discover what brokerage, who is those people that you want to have on the speed dial? And how can they find that out before they actually sign up for the brokerage?
That's a good question.
I know the answer. I just want to see you. I want you to say it.
I think it's so important
because I've been given the answer so many times.
I think it's so important for each person to go around to each brokerage and interview each person and see what they offer.
Right.
And find out what their mentor program is, and you know, reach out to anybody you can.
Yeah. Did you feel in the office too? Because Atlantic Partners, you know, obviously they know the ones right here in front of my face here at Southside, or, you know, the one in St. Augustine. There's a core group of very successful people there.
Sure.
I mean, I think their culture, the door's basically open. Yep. But did you feel like, you know, anyone in that office and the agents that are listening right now and listening to Daniel's obviously felt that was a connection, and what his growth was to have those 5 people around you, right? Type of thing where you could call and, you know, how do I negotiate this? Or what would you do in this negotiation type of stuff? Or talking over the contract, how do I write this contract because I need to put this in it? That's like an everyday question for a real estate agent, right? Yeah. But to find that office where you have those collaborators that are in there and you can put them on speed dial. And how many often have you gone out and just had coffee with these people, or I don't know, maybe a drink after work, and just collaborate and build that relationship and the importance of it in your career?
Often.
Yeah.
Yeah, very often. Not only when I was starting, but still now, today.
Yeah.
And we still collaborate, and because things are changing so often. And it's just so important especially in Amelia Island, we're a small group of people that actually produce. So we need to build a good rapport with each other.
Yeah.
And just keep everything on the open.
Well, there's so many things changing, not only in real estate, but there's so many things changing on the ground in your new neighborhood popping up.
That's right.
And someone finds out something about that neighborhood that everyone else should know.
Yeah.
So they can share with their clients, right?
Yep.
And that, I think, it might have been Melissa Ricks who actually said it or something, you know, how the collaboration, you know, you're up in Fernandina, but you get a client down in St. Augustine and says, hey, Daniel, they say you're great. You're still taking the deal, but you may not even know that neighborhood. See, you may not know that area, so you need to call.
Yeah, I won't take those.
No?
No. I mean, I like
you're gonna refer that off?
I will.
Yeah.
Just because I'm doing my customer an injustice at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert in St. Augustine. As much as I'm licensed and I can, doesn't mean I should. I'd like to refer that to somebody who will better suit them, and in return, they'll send me something. And we build a good rapport that way. You know, I'd rather say, hey, I trust this person that I've built up a good relationship with in St. Augustine. They are perfect for exactly what you're looking for. I'll take a 25% referral and save my gas.
Yeah. Share that mindset a little more, because I think there's a lot of agents that, I had one agent tell me they moved brokerages because they wanted to expand their area,
Sure.
their influence or whatever it was. But they were in the area that they, without, exposing their name or anything, they grew up in the area that they live in and work, and obviously everyone knows who they are, and they're very busy like you, type of thing. But it's like, why do you want to, if you're over on the west side of Jacksonville, why do you want to drive all the way out to Jack's Beach, right? Or like you said, Fernandina to St. Augustine. I mean, time of day, all that kind of stuff. Because obviously your mindset, I would assume, and I want you to expand on this, is you could be working with 2 other customers in your backyard.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I don't want to, in the time spent that I could be going to St. Augustine or wherever it is, that's a bit out of my territory. I could be focusing on the people I have at hand right now and better catering to them. I'd rather be an expert in my small little field than be a jack of all trades everywhere.
Yeah.
And just be spread so thin.
Right.
It's not fair to my customers.
Right.
By referring out, I can still have a hand on it and still, help guide that other agent with this other customer, make sure it's a good fit, keep me updated. They are my people. How's it going?
Right.
So the customer still feels like they're involved with me.
Right. And then the person who may have referred you to this person who's moving down there still knows you've put a blessing over it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think so many real estate agents don't outsource they take on too much. They get so busy, so overwhelmed, instead of outsourcing a lot of things,
That's going to lead me into, I'm just going to write that down here. We're going to talk about this in detail in a minute. Obviously, you're expressing it to me, so I know the answer to this. Well, it's not really the answer to the question. I want you to expand on from your mindset in this situation. Focusing on the customers you had at hand is basically what you just said.
Correct.
If I didn't quote you there. How important has that been to the growth of your business? And many of the people I've spoken to, have interviewed, I think a lot of agents, well, the people I've interviewed know this. I think a lot of agents are just going transaction to transaction. They're maybe only looking 60 to 90 days in advance. They're not realizing, they think a billboard is going to get them more than actually focusing on the person who's right in front of them, giving them all your effort, giving them the greatest transaction ever, is really going to be your walking billboard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have gotten more business from referrals and repeat customers than I could have ever imagined from any kind of marketing or advertising.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the bread and butter. Building authentic, genuine relationships and caring for that person will drastically increase your business, way more than spending money on advertising, and it's free.
I wanted to go deeper on that because I think that I understand what you're talking, because obviously, I'm in the industry. If you were doing a video to express to why someone in Chicago who wants to buy a house in Fernandina should use Daniel, what is the experience? What are some of the things that you do uniquely that is just, hey, this is how I do my business? Maybe it's fancy photos or whatever. What is it? But what is kind of like your foundation of your business that you've gotten to that gets you those results, gets you those wows at the end of the transaction?
Sure. Trust. And I spoke to my wife on the way here about trust, and people see trust very differently, whether that's you're just a nice person, or you're an expert in your field, or have a flashy social media. They trust that you are going to get the job done, whatever that may be. My trust is all of that. I like to meet people.
You do have a good Instagram page.
You.
Yeah, looking at your panels there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But mostly, like you said, what's my wow factor? It's having genuinely authentic relationships and conversations with people, understanding their expectations, and executing that.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be for them. It's not a fly-by-night. I'm here to build a lasting friendship, relationship, whatever you see fit for you. If we're going to be friends, I'd love that. If it's transactional, that's fine, but I'm still going to be in your life.
Well, the area is so small. The island's not that big. Right. Maybe York's, I'm sure you've sold stuff west of 95 too, but it's really not, like you said, you're going to run into each other.
That's right. I'm selling them my home.
Yeah.
So it's something it's easy to sell to because I believe in it, and it's something I've grown up with. So I love it there. So it's a very easy way to sell to people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it's helped over the years too, because one thing I did a presentation for Florida Realtors and Florida Realtors. Yeah. Trust me, you don't want to say it incorrectly to them.
It's Realtor.
Realtors is how an agent is housing is such a big part of our economy. And it's the real estate agent that actually is the linchpin to me, the way you're a pillar. You're an influencer. You got all these new people are moving into town. And they may know somebody there, but they're going to spend, 30, 60, 90 days with you,
right.
And you're running in town. And like you said, you build the trust, which then results into credibility. And then, you're able to influence them and, hey, these are great restaurants. This is, based on what this is, I think a school better for your kid. I don't know if, how far you go with that, but you have a lot of influence on these people coming in, and how important the real estate agent is to any one community.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They expect you to be the expert of not just real estate, but all area.
Right.
Everything within that. Who's the best dentist? Where's the best restaurant? Where should I go for this? And you need to be kind of catered concierge to your clients.
And I mean, to agents listening, obviously you grew up there, a lot of people, you were a firefighter for 15 years. You treaded up and down all those streets. You know everybody's address, I'm sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So when someone tells you about some street, you're like, yeah, I've been over there.
Yeah, John used to live in that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you have an upward hand on it, but would you recommend, how important is it for an agent? Because we obviously, a lot of it, especially St. Johns County, everyone's moved in there from somewhere else.
Right.
And to really spend some time learning the communities. You're not going to know every street. I mean, but learning the communities, go by the schools, see the schools. So when someone is talking to you and they're, like you said, you're building that relationship and they're telling you everything they want, you have a greater perspective of where you should guide them.
That's right.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you're selling them on a lifestyle in a town.
Yes.
You need to, before you even see a home, they need to love the town. They need to love what they do there. They need to see themselves living in that life. Mm-hmm. And then you sell them the house. But knowing all those ins and outs is how you get them there.
Yeah. I remember it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was doing an open house with this agent, and this couple walked in, and this was up in basically the middle of, well, when I say the middle of Jacksonville, not quite to Jack's Beach, but out towards Mayo, I think it was where it was. I think
San Pablo area.
Yeah, San Pablo. And, they wanted these things, and they were a young couple, but they wanted their cake and eat it too. And they're like looking at these, and then, they want, we want a yard, we want to put a boat in. I'm like, well, this ain't the subdivision for that, because it's a subdivision. It's the HOA ain't going to allow that. But the way they were talking, and I'm like, they're just having conversation. And I'm like, but they refused to move to, like, St. Johns County was like on the other side of the earth. I mean, it's like, but you're talking St. Johns County. You are St. Johns County. That's the type of people who are living in St. Johns County.
That's right.
Yeah, but they just had this mind block that was like, my family grew up in Jacksonville type like thing. Well, be honest with you, most of Jacksonville lives in northern St. Johns County, so they can go to the schools there and then come into work in Jacksonville. Right. Yeah, exactly. Unless they're going to send them to private school. Not to hit Duval County too hard.
But yeah, you're right. Overcoming that mind block and at least getting, hey, give me a chance and let's go look at this.
Yeah.
Just even if it's not with me, just drive through.
Well, I mean, that's a good in the sales side. Obviously, you're in firefighting and now you're in sales.
Right.
Right. Did you have I've been in sales my entire life, so I don't even think about it, but I try to think about, well, here's this person. I'm a firefighter. You're not thinking of sales, although I think everyone's selling every day, whether you're selling to your wife, to you want to go do something or whatever, type of thing. You're always selling something, but people don't realize that. But the transition from being the firefighter, hey, this is my schedule, I'm on call, I'm sure you guys had beepers at one time, right? Yeah, that type of thing. To now, you're in this sales mode. Did it take some mental transition for you?
It did. You know, I was a bit nervous at first. I'm not a salesman. I never have been. I still don't feel like I sell.
Right.
It did. I was very not confident in myself. And it took a few people coming along and a few transactions, and you get more comfortable and you hear other people talk, and you pick up a little bit and make it your own. And
were you a regular, especially at Keller Williams, and maybe you are still today, are you a regular guy who goes into the office?
No. Almost never.
When you first started, though?
No,
you didn't. Interesting. Because you just said you like to hear. Well, to me, I started my career in mortgages 12 years in a call center. So we were over, I can't say my first few years were in the call center. The rest, there was probably 8 years where I was working from home. So I didn't hear the guy across the way. We'd have to just get on the phone and talk stories about different situations, or have a good broker that say, here's my situation. And he heard it from someone else in the office, or the other side of the office had a similar transaction, and this is how we got through it, type of thing. But, how did you kind of gain that confidence that you're talking about you didn't have at first?
Yeah, so I didn't go into the office, but I would try to shadow people as much as possible. Hey, you're going on this listing appointment. Can I tag along?
Yeah.
Or, hey, you're going to this caravan. Can I come? Whatever it may be. I always like being in the field. I never I'd sit through some meetings here and there and, learn some things, but never a behind the desk kind of person or sit in an office. I like to be out and talking.
Yeah. So who did I have had Amber Strong on the other day? And she talks about her goal is she wants to have 10 conversations a day. That's her goal.
Right.
So she says she might have to make 100 phone calls till she gets that, What is your day like? What have you found? What have you evolved into at this point in your career as your routine? Because I imagine your success has become from you creating some sort of successful routine.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So in the beginning, I'd had no routine, and it was hit or miss. And it wasn't until another mentor said, you need to get very structured, treat this like a business, because it is. You wake up every day unemployed, so go find your business.
Right.
So I did. I don't know whether or not my business has been a direct effect because of it, but it has to be. So I just have...
You're moving forward anyway.
That's right. That's right. So I just have a chalkboard of things that I like to get done every day, and each day has its own different task. And typically my day starts out with coffee, social media, do a post, something just to stay relevant. Now, whether I get a direct lead from that, it's not so much direct leads, but it's staying top of mind.
Yep.
On top of people. Hey, I forgot Daniel's a real estate agent.
Exactly.
And then I try to do some kind of face-to-face meeting with a lender or with another agent or some kind of tradesperson or somebody within the field or even a prospective customer. I also write 3 letters every week to somebody, whether past customer, friend, family, anybody, and just express gratitude towards them. Hey, thanks for being in my life. Here's why I appreciate you, blah, blah, blah. Just, you're on my mind.
Right.
I think writing letters is old school and people really are caught off guard and appreciate it.
Yes.
And I always get a phone call from it and then it sparks up another conversation.
I like you. I kind of do something similar, but I do it pseudo electronically with send out cards because I take the pictures off Facebook. And when you put their pictures in the card,
cool.
or their family's picture, they see their kids, they don't throw away those cards.
Yeah.
But when the really great compliment is when they actually, will post it on Instagram, they'll have a picture of my card and them opening it and so forth. Yeah, it does. Yeah. But the handwritten card, because no one who does that anymore, right?
Right. And that's part of a ninja tactic. It's so Sotheby's and a few other agencies, they do a course called Ninja Training.
Yep.
And that's one of the practices they tell you to do is practice your gratitude, send out some cards to people, stay in touch.
I audioed the book, Audible the book, the Ninja book that you're referring to and the trainings he does. I'm trying to, now you mention that, want to reflect back on some of the things because he does talk about the gratitudes of being important. If I recall, to do that every morning.
That's right.
And take time to think of, explain it is an influential book. And there are a lot of people that have obviously touched it or gone to a training, one of the other. They've heard what we're talking about at one time or the other, but obviously, well, not obviously, but most people are probably not doing it. Like anything, I mean, we see a training, go, oh, that's great, and then we don't actually follow through with it.
No application.
Yeah.
Right.
What are some of the parts of the Ninja? Obviously, writing the letters. Talk about the gratitudes. I mean, what do you do every day, and how does that cement you, I guess, in the start of your day?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I try to do it.
Every day. Yeah.
Doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
I always have a grand plan for how my day is going to be shaped, and it never ends up that way. But so every morning I try to wake up with a positive attitude, and you try to reflect on things that you're grateful for. I think it really sets the tone for the whole day for yourself, for everybody you run into. It just shapes your mind to, just like anything that you practice consistently, it's going to become reality.
Yeah.
That's going to be your new norm. So if you wake up grateful and with gratitude in your heart every day.
Some people, I think it's almost natural, right? Because when we see them, they're always positive or whatever.
Sure.
But we know as life, if we look on it, there's things that,
sure.
You wake up and, I don't know, something gets you off on the wrong side of the bed and, you got to pull back in because how important is it? It's showtime. Every time whether you're talking on the phone or you're meeting that client at lunch or showing a place or going to a listing appointment, it's showtime. You got to put your show face on.
That's right.
Yeah. It's expressing that positivity through you. Sometimes you have to do a little checkup.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some of those people out there that are just always happy. but it's a learned behavior for some of us as well. You just focus on it, and it's just nice. It's a much
challenge,
better way to go forward.
My challenge is I thrive in the adversity, where adversity to some people is negative. right? Something forces adverse against them. To me, when there's no force in front of me, I'm like, I don't have a wall to push against. I need adversity for me to I mean, that's just the way. So I almost create for myself, and it's not necessarily a negative thing, but just like, I got to overcome this mountain.
Sure.
That gets me fired up. And then I go and I don't stop until I get there. Because if I stop, I just will kind of I got the ADHD, right? I'll just get distracted by something. So when I get doing something, I got to move. I got to go. And then I don't stop until it's finished.
I can completely relate with that.
Yeah.
If I have nothing going on, I can almost get complacent.
Yes.
And that's why you need those practices in place.
Yeah.
And to break that up.
All right. I told you I was working on this talk about grit. So part of my talk is the LLC, the love, the laughter, and the consistency. Tell everyone a little bit why. I mean, you've been in the business now 3.5 years. We assume you like it, so we want you to tell us why you like it, because your success is you're snowballing, basically. I mean, your business is building every day, or month over month, year after year. I saw the thing. You're 2023. You were top producer at Sotheby's, and the brokerage and so forth. What is it that you've gotten passionate about real estate?
People. I've always been a people person, so now I just get paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
That is the key of life, isn't it?
That's right. So, no, it allows me, I've never wanted to be stuck behind a desk. So, real estate was a natural transition. I love architecture. I love interior design. I love everything about homes, and I love people. So it was an easy transition into this. And I love my hometown. So it's easy to sell because I believe in it.
Yeah.
So to wake up every day is such a gift, and go be with some friends or make new friends, or, hear all different backgrounds of life, and get to show them my home and why I love it. And, these restaurants and these people and this home and this area. This beach is kind of secret. So don't tell anybody. But,
yes, exactly.
All these.
Come here at 6 o'clock. You can see the sunset or whatever.
The things that I've always loved. And then to tell them about the history of the island and how things were different when I was growing up. It's neat.
Yeah. Yeah. People love that. People love the stories. They want to, even though they're moving from a totally different area and coming in there, and maybe they visited there obviously before. So they're like, oh, hey, we want to live there. It looks like a nice place. But they obviously they don't have that guide behind them telling them the stories of, hey, this is what was here before. Right. Now they feel like they're part of the community that you grew up in, because now they know the story, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of neat stories there.
Yeah.
A lot of history.
I call it laughter, because I feel all of us at some time in our life, whatever we're doing, and it could be we're doing life, but in your real estate business, that day where you really you fell on your face, but you had to do that gratitude, right? You had to go, hey, I got a meeting this afternoon with this new buyer or whatever. I realize this deal's going sideways and I may lose it. I'm just giving an example of something that might have kicked you in the face for being in real estate, but really just got you down. But then I think we internally laugh it off. And because we go back to the gratitudes. We have that internal laughter, because laughter does amazing things for us as humans. And then tell us a situation where you really had that thing that just kicked you in the face, but you just walked it off.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know that I walked it off. Mine's gonna
still hanging with you.
I'm gonna go dark real quick for you. So,
all right.
So I was doing both at the fire department and real estate, and then my mom passed. So very dark time in my life. It was unexpected. So I was a bit lost after that.
Yeah.
I took a little bit of time off at the fire department, took a little time off of real estate, and then I met with a mentor of mine, Heather Shields. She's a real estate agent with Sotheby's out of Maine. Great agent. And she's the one that said, where are you happier? And I said, real estate. I can be at home. I can do all these things. And she said, life's too short. Basically, what would your mom want you to do?
Exactly.
It's about life. Where's the balance? And I said, real estate. She said, your real estate career will never take off like it could until you leave the fire department.
Yeah.
She said, you're given 50-50 to each, and neither of them are getting 100. So choose. And I did. And it was the best decision.
Awesome. That is a solid story right there. That's a solid right there.
And took a leap of faith, and thank God it worked out.
Yeah.
But you know what? And she was dead right. Until you're forced into a situation where you have to wake up and you have to perform. It was always on the sideline. If I got a listing, great. If I could sell a buyer, fantastic. It was great. But I had a steady paycheck. So it wasn't really out farming. I wasn't doing anything to promote my business as it should be and treat it like a business.
Well, although you also set yourself up for that tipping point too, because obviously you must have felt that you financially and everything could make that leap. And the worst case is 6 months later, 3 months, whatever it is, you know what? I need to be a firefighter.
Right.
But you had put yourself in that position.
Correct.
And able to put the wings on and jump off and see if you could fly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was on a snowboarding trip with some buddies in Montana, and I called my wife, and we had already discussed one of my senior officers at the fire department was retiring in, I think, December, and it was going to be my birthday. So I was like, you know what, I'll leave. And that was, 10 months away. I said, I'll leave when he leaves, and we'll store up like a chipmunk, and we'll be fine. And I'll work on my real estate career pretty hard for the next year, and then I'll leave the fire department. And we went on this snowboarding trip, and I called my wife, and I said, I'm ready to leave. And
now
10 months before we said I was going to leave.
Right.
And she said, you know, she's so supportive, and she said, do it.
Yeah.
She said, when you come back in town, put in your 2 weeks.
That's wonderful to have a partner like that. It sounds like she didn't create doubt. Of course, luckily enough, she knows the business enough from her angle.
That's right. And she could see the projection where it was going.
Right.
You know,
right.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
I couldn't see through the fog at that time.
Well, we're talking, you started in, was it January 21, right? If I remember from your LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah. So imagine, so this is still 2021, right? Or maybe towards the end of it, because you said you had the overlap period there with the fire department.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, but not everyone has that common sense, nor the wherewithal to support their partner. So I give a lot of credit there to the fact that she had a lot of, seeing that area, hey, it's going to grow. I know even an average agent that's out there producing, we could still live, but obviously you've gone above and beyond any average agent with that. But some people would have been, I mean, I think family's the worst at it. I think family's the worst naysayers. Yeah. I mean, you know, and I didn't realize some of them are actually worried about you failing and whatever. But I think others are also like, well, what if he succeeds? And then he's like, you know, and then he's better than me. And that, I think there's more of that than actually worried about you failing.
Luckily, as far as I know, nobody said that thing.
Yeah.
Not. You know, I have my family or friends don't see that way. But I did have the other side. You know, when my dad's an old school blue collar construction or, you know, contractor. So he is a 9 to 5, go get your money, store it up, save, invest wisely. So when I told him I was leaving the fire department, he was pretty hurt. Yeah. I think he, you know, not that he doubted my skill or, you know, anything I've ever done, but his fear as a father, you know, not wanting to see their child suffer or, you know, or have any kind of hardship. He was afraid for me.
One of the things I told you I'm working on this talk. If anybody hasn't read Grit, I think any agent out here, you've got to get this book. It's really good. I believe people have to accomplish things in their life. And one of the theories that I have, and actually she backs it up in her talks, is like when we're kids, join the Boy Scouts and finish it. Or, you know, do it for whatever amount of years. You're going to go out, whatever it is that you're going to go out for a sports team, you show up. Right? You don't come all, you go to the practices, you go, I don't care if it's August football and you're like, the bugs are in your hair and all that, you do it. You got to have grit and you get through it. But then you join the fire department, which is true grit. I mean, the things, like you said, you talked about you deal with and the people and the humanity that you see can really be, I imagine, can take you from the highest highs to the lowest lows and you fought through it. But then you look back and I would say, you're looking at your life, and I should have been a psychology major, but I'm like, this guy had grit for 15 years, tolerating the bureaucracy of the fire department, and then going out and dealing with humanity, and being out there in August with all your gear on, it's hotter than hot, you know, doing all those types of things. Being a real estate agent and the air conditioning is
smooth sailing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you had accomplished those things in that because you had accomplished those things, you could look back on your life and just say, well, that was in my way and I didn't think I could do it, or I didn't have confidence, but then I did. And now I'm going to go into real estate. I don't really have confidence. Now, you may not have been directly saying this to yourself, but that was what got you to the next step. Right. Was in the fire. When I was in the fire department, I just like, man, I hit this roadblock. I always remember, I'm at the Citadel. We had to pass a PT test, right? Military College of South Carolina. You got to pass a PT test every semester. And I'm not a runner. I could do the push-ups and the sit-ups, max those out. But the running was always a challenge.
Right.
So when I'm running it was just a mile and a half. Most people don't think about it, but 70% of our kids can't pass the military, can't even go in the military right now because they're not in physically shape.
Wow.
All I kept saying to myself is, in 10 minutes, I'll be in the shower. In 10 minutes, I'll be in the shower. In 10 minutes, I'll be in the shower. And that was it. And so I kept my mind block on that. And that was how I overcame the pain of running that mile and a half. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. But so because I'd accomplish it and just use steps like, what if I just hold my breath for 30 seconds? Okay. I'm going to breathe in 30 seconds and I'm going to go on with my life. I'm going to fight through this wall or these obstacles not to say walls, but just the obstacles or the perseverance in front of you. But I think that years of being in the firefighting is obviously just sets you up, and obviously being a hometown boy is icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I mean,
it gives you perspective.
Yeah.
When you know where.
Because you can go deep with people.
That's right.
Yeah. 3 things that you feel, and these things may have developed and be great if you could talk about how to develop what you were doing maybe 2 years ago or a year and a half ago to what you're doing now. But 3 things you think right now that you're doing that make you successful as a real estate agent. It could be a marketing thing. What are you doing that?
Number 1 is luck.
You have rabbit's foot in your pocket?
No, biggest one is, I'm sure every agent on here talks about sphere of influence. Who's in your sphere that you're talking about? Your sphere is going to directly reflect your business. The bigger it is, the more chances you have. The higher price point people that you have within your sphere are going to produce higher, revenue generating homes. So my wife's company really helps feed into that. That's a big, big one for me. And building those, again, we go back to relationships, because I truly believe it is all about building relationships with every customer you have. So I've built a good rapport with all of her customers.
I want just to pause on that, because I think we all talk about those relationships, and I'm like, okay, because I'm like, okay, I hear this build relationship thing, and maybe you're talking on the phone, but sometimes you have to slow the transaction down a little bit. Not necessarily like, hey, we're not going to close in 30 days but 45, but sometimes you have to say, hey, we're going to go do lunch today.
That's exactly right.
And actually get some good quality FaceTime.
That's right. And I will never, ever sell to them. They know what I do. And if I do talk about real estate, it is brought up by them. I will never mention it to them. Because I don't ever want to come off as I'm selling to them. I really do. I'm interested in what they have to say. I want to hear their background. I want to know what's going on in their life with their grandkids or their kids or, their next project or travels. These are genuine conversations that you have. People can smell a used car salesman coming a mile away.
Well, the unique thing about real estate is every house is unique in its own. There's only one address, right?
Right.
I mean, you may have the same model in the same neighborhood, maybe, but the paint color's different. One's got a pool, one doesn't. One's on the preserve, one's on the retention pond, whatever it is. Everything's so unique. So it's hard to just say, hey, I'm going to sell these iPhone, I don't know what it is, 14 or whatever here for me. That I'm going to sell that product, and there's 1,000 of them. I got a pile of them I got to sell. So I got to find that person to match, where real estate is such a matchmaking situation. You got to learn how to, like you said, asking those questions and learning those things and learning what's their little sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
What is their little, or everyone has that Achilles heel, right? But what's their Achilles heel in the exact house they want to buy, right? Like if they saw that, they'd be like, oh my God.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And truly listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that was 2.
Oh, that was 2 already.
Well, I think you were at 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wife's company, building relationships.
The circle of influence.
There you go.
Yeah. And then the relationships.
Yep. And then 3rd is consistency, staying top of mind.
Yeah.
Social media helps with that. As I mentioned before, I don't get any direct leads from it, but it's a good source of people to refer back and see what I've done, so that they know if there's the relevancy there, that okay, he knows what he's doing, he's done some things, and oh yeah, he's a real estate agent. And I'm just staying consistent with all that.
Yeah. Are you doing any behind the scenes marketing? Do you send out a newsletter weekly or monthly or whatever?
I do.
What are some of those auto things that you have going on besides just the social media?
So sure, I do social media, and then of course, like we all do, I'll send out postcards and stuff to anything that I've sold or for sale, and within that area, and try to market that area as well. But within the Amelia Island plantation, I send out a monthly newsletter as well.
So you're farming that, you're trying to focus on the plantations, your kind of home.
I want it to be. Yeah, it's a great.
Because that takes a lot of consistency, right?
It does.
And it's the only way eventually you start to become the expert. And it may take you a couple of years of sending postcards
That's
quarterly
right.
or whatever.
This is not a short game. This
Yeah.
is a long burn, as it with most relationships are. So it's a monthly newsletter that we send out, and it's just a little real estate 101. Here's what you should know. And it's just informing people of either the market, or did you know this change happened, or here's a new recipe, and here's the events that are happening.
Right, new restaurant
just
or whatever.
Something to stay kind of relevant to them, and it's a short read, nothing they can get bored with. 2 pages. Have a great day.
Do you try to personalize it a little bit? Because I imagine some of like the recipes and stuff are just cut and paste type things. But I mean,
actually, no. The recipes are all either from me or my wife or people we know.
oh, is that right? Oh, you're a cook.
Yeah, we do. We love to cook. So we try to keep it relevant to the season and things we do.
Yeah.
So things we like, or it could be a cocktail too. We do.
Right.
We make our own limoncello spritz. So we did a limoncello, or we make our own limoncello. So we made a limoncello spritz one time for an ingredient or for a cocktail.
Well, you just mentioned something. It's a long burn, long game. Mm-hmm. At what point did you realize that, or were you fortunate enough to have the mentors early that's explained to you these agents that are doing, I could just think of Carrie Carpenter. I mean, she's actually only been in the business about as long as COVID is when she moved over. So she's only been in the business about as long as, but she's upwards of 50 transactions.
Right.
And because her mindset, if you listen to her show, when she got in, it was about a business. She started off like as perfect as you could run this business. Where a lot of us, a lot of agents like myself in the mortgage business, we hear that, but we kind of put it off and we're like, no, I just want to sell a house, and we're going, and you're in this like 69, trial and error, you're in this 60, 90 day. But when does it come to you as like, hold on, if I want to be like Carrie, or I'm sure you know some other people at one Sotheby's or Keller Williams, you're like, I want to be like that agent who's basically kind of sitting in the office, or every day they got someone, they're going to a listing appointment or going to got a new buyer. It seems like every day, because they've just built up this huge wave from whatever amount of years, and now they've got so many people in that circle of influence and regular, because they were doing it long term. They knew that postcard may go out today, but it might be 3 or 4 years before that person ever thinks of selling the house, right? But I'm going to hit them for the next 3 or 4 years because I want to be that person they call.
Yep.
Yeah. When did that kind of like ding for you?
When I transitioned to Sotheby's.
Yeah.
And I saw how and it's not anything against Keller, because they're phenomenal. But I got to really dive into a person I've known for a long time, who is one of the most heavy-hitting people in Amelia Island. I got to watch him work and see how he does things. It is never a pressure game. It is never a instant gratification. It's never a right now. Mm-hmm. It is for so long when I first got in the business, it was, I want to get my numbers for the year, finish out the year strong, but do all these things and get my numbers for the year. And his is, you're still going to need to get paid next year too.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Like, it'll come.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's a waiting game. They're like sharks. You can smell somebody coming to sell.
I wonder if he listens to Ricky Caruth. Do you know Ricky Caruth?
I don't.
Ricky came down and spoke. St. John's board had him come speak October 15th in here. And so I had him on the podcast. He was a huge RE/MAX agent in Alabama, top guy. He literally had 3 years in a row where he had 100 transactions as a solo agent. Okay. So he's proven himself. His father was a roofer. That's what he was doing. He was a roofer that became a real estate agent, the way he explained it. Wow. But he talks about the contact, but just the way you explained it. Every day you're talking to somebody, unless they're ready to buy or sell right that moment, to say, yeah, hey, I'm calling you because I want to buy. But he's consistently having phone calls, just calling homeowners, introducing himself. Hey, are you looking to, upset? Okay, not great. Hey, just have that conversation and become their agent.
Right.
Because I think we know a lot of people know a lot of agents, but this is a great story. It's been told on the podcast before, but a couple times. But we all know Patty Ketchum with Florida Realtor, one of the top, everyone's desired instructor when she comes to NEFAR and so forth. But Patty talks about her mom in her neighborhood getting that postcard that every month or every quarter, whatever, right? And her father had passed away. So she's in there talking to mom, and mom says, hey, if something happens to me, there's a real estate agent in daddy's desk. So Patty is already a real estate agent. Okay. It's like, what are you talking about, mom? She goes in there and there's a stack of postcards with a rubber band around it.
Yep.
This lady kept hitting him. So that mom assumed this agent was a super expert in this area.
That's right.
And that might have been, who knows, 10 years, 15 years of postcards.
Wow.
Yeah, going in there. But that goes back to what Ricky created. Having everyone, and then obviously putting them in your database and doing, whether you're sending them the newsletter or whatever, but to say, hey, I'm here until they're ready. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because obviously you can't take everybody out to lunch.
No.
that would be pretty. But that's between Ricky and the other person will come to me. But she talks about adding 8 people to her CRM every day.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you think about it, we were just talking about Amber to do, having 10 conversations.
Yeah.
7 or 8 of them are probably not even in her database yet.
Yeah.
And keep adding them in there so they're getting your email.
I've got some work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But, we kind of neglect that. But, you think about it, all the different organizations we belong to or whatever. I mean, does every firefighter in Fernandina know that you're a real estate agent?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I hope they do.
You've treaded over the same turf. Yeah. And there's some respect. It's like going in the military. There's a respect there because you've all been there and seen it.
But I wouldn't get hurt if they didn't use me.
3 things, though, that you feel all agents with today's current marketplace need to be doing. I think the 3 things before was what they need to be doing all the time, but just what's going on right now? What are some different things that you're doing now that say maybe you weren't doing last year?
Education.
Yeah.
It's a huge one right now. With the NAR settlement, things changing, and learning a tactic on how to speak to your customers nowadays, it changed.
Yeah.
You have to explain things differently so that they have a better understanding of how this transaction is going to work, who's paying who, and rehearse that. Rehearse how it's going to play out with them.
Were you doing any buyer broker or buyer consultations before? Or you would, like I think most agents, they call and say, hey, so-and-so referred me. I want to go see this house. Okay, let's set an appointment. And they go. Were you doing that before? Were you actually having a little bit more, hey, let's do a Zoom or let's, talk about, dig into the things that they want up front before you actually.
As time permitting, I always like to do a buyer consultation prior to.
Yeah.
It just gives you a better understanding and you're not wasting their time or your own. And I'm all about streamlining time. Which takes me back to outsourcing. We're going to talk on that.
Yes, I wrote that down.
Yeah.
Well, 3 things agents should be doing. Three things agents should be doing now, and you said education was one of them.
Yeah, education's huge.
Yeah,
on that one.
And they got to be practiced. I'm hearing some sort of horror stories from some agents about, especially agents that may not be as busy.
Yeah.
So they haven't truly worked through between the listing situation and the buyer and how whether they're going to advertise it, all the different situations that you can do to work this, satisfy the NAR agreement or settlement, whatever. But I'm hearing some horror stories because they need more of what you're talking about, education.
Yeah. You have to stay on top of this one.
Yeah.
And you can swing it to you can swing it to your benefit.
Yeah.
But it's fine. As long as you educate yourself and you talk to your customers and explain things and be completely transparent, then it's fine.
Yeah. We're in expand education is not just going to a NEFAR class. It could be obviously the meetings at your office. You got a good broker. The good broker right now needs to be staying out in front of this so they could pass it down to the troops.
Right. I think speaking with your broker, and especially if your firm has an attorney on staff, that's a huge resource to use.
Yeah.
Talk to the attorney. You want to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
And your customers out of trouble. The last thing you want to do is show up to the closing table and there's no check for you.
Yeah.
Or something.
That'll wake you up.
No, you need to stay on top of each forms that are coming out because it changes all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So education's one.
Over
education. Always be educating.
Yes.
But right now you really need to be focused on getting through and having this stuff down pat.
Correct. Second is social media. And normally I would have never said that, but I think millennials and people are starting to get into the market. And this is where their trusted source is these days.
Yeah.
They find things online so much faster than the boomers, that were our big, 10 years ago, that was our big clientele. We're starting to see millennials get into the market. And
are you doing YouTube?
No, and I need to.
You don't need to?
No,
well, you have a unique set. But the Gallup group, Jordan and Jacqueline.
Fantastic people.
Yes. Their background's in media.
It is.
And they do some videos up there in Fernandina. They get a lot of hits.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I really need to get in that game too.
Yeah.
Again, it's a time thing, so I probably need to hire a social media manager or something. But
so being consistent, I guess, is really right. Social media, is that where you?
It is, yeah. It's a consistency, whatever medium that is for you, whether it's social media or lunches or letters, or those are just my things. But staying consistent, top of mind for people, because it's so easy in a digital world now for them to go one more click to the next agent,
Yeah.
and forget about you, because now everybody knows a real estate agent. You could have been. You probably know hundreds.
Yeah.
And same with your neighbor. They probably know at least 10.
Yeah. I think every top agent in St. Johns County between 2003 or 4 to 2020 had lived in St. John's Golf and Country Club at one time or another. And that's where I'm at. They've all been in there at one time. I talked, oh yeah, I still live in there. Yeah. How they've all come through there. All right. So over education right now on the new stuff that's out there as far as buyer broker agreement, consistency in their social media to stay top of mind, or whatever their top of mind thing is. What's number 3?
It kind of falls back on the education, but not so much on the legality standpoint. It's more on understanding your market, your micro market and your macro market. So whether that's your local, what's producing, what's not, who to, are new home buyers, is that your bread and butter? Is it luxury? What's producing right now? What's your days on market? What are the percentage that you're getting from list price to sale price, and going to your customers with that information as well?
Yeah.
Because the better you can iron out on the front end,
spit that out,
what the expectation is.
Yeah.
If I can go to a customer and say, look, we're still getting 95% of our list price. I don't think we need to reduce our price anymore. It's just a waiting game at this point, because here's the days on market. Here's the stats that prove it. We're just waiting right now. Don't reduce it. You don't want to leave any money on the table, or vice versa. We're seeing
you're still in the zone,
and we're fighting your competitor over here 2 doors down. We need to be competitive. So understanding your micro market, and then what changes are going to come with the macro market.
I really like that. And it's not like a ton of knowledge. It's not like you've got to, memorize some sort of book or something. You just, the few items that are relevant to that client, whether it's a listing or a buyer or whatever, whatever it is that you're educating. Yeah. They're getting 95%, average now it's 45, whatever it is. You're rattling off these statistics right now. And then, obviously related to the price point too, right? We know what the median price point is, but you got $1 million or $1.5 million, it's probably going to sit a little bit longer, because not everyone can buy that house.
That's right.
Yeah. And what you got moving in, but being able to spit that off just makes you just sound like a pro.
Yeah. And then coming with that material, here's the trends on it. And here's over the last quarter, here's what we saw. That CMA I did for you originally when we listed, we actually need to reduce that. Here's the new CMA. Based on our new trends, like this is where I would go, so it's just explaining to your customers up front, and it reduces a lot of heartache and headache later down the road.
All right. So yeah, we did write down outsourcing. And the reason why I picked that up when we were talking before, I forget what we were actually talking about, but you mentioned it. One of the biggest challenges that I'm hearing from agents that have sat here and right in front of me are at this lid point. Some of them have gone past it. Some of them are hitting it. Yep. They're hitting it because they're tough, but they're like, okay, I've been the solo agent. I've been doing everything on my own, but now I've reached this production. And of course, some of them are control freaks and don't want to give anything up. But like I assume when you can explain how you outsource, it's got to free you up to do the money-making activities. Exactly. Tell us a little about what you outsource, and when did you come to that point in your career and go, hey, I need to do something? Did you search out someone for advice? Give us a little background.
No, I think it's just seeing other people and adjusting my tactic based on them and what I want my lifestyle to look like. I've seen people that are burned out, that are trying to do everything, and then I've seen other people that don't do enough. So it's trying to find that happy medium. But as far as outsourcing, my bread and butter is in the field. I don't need to be behind a desk. I don't want to be behind a screen doing social media. I don't want to be doing anything other than talking, selling, being out there talking to people. So
shoot some more video.
Yeah. So if I can trust other people to do that job for me, it takes a little bit off of me, by all means. At some point you have to relinquish a little bit of control for the greater good of what your purpose is and whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Because the most common person's not going to know if you tweak it your style or somebody else doesn't do it quite right. But as far as outsourcing, I'm very blessed that Sotheby's has quite a few things that I can outsource. So when I talk about those,
so in-house within Sotheby's, that their services they're providing, their
absolutely. Yeah. So one of them, we have a lot of good database and tools that we can use to formulate data. We have one called Trend Graphics. So that's very easy for me to type in really quick. Here's our market analysis based on whatever I want it to be. then I can take that to my meeting. Any kind of social media, if I can, I'd like to outsource it. I haven't gotten to that stage yet. But as far as more marketing, Sotheby's, I can just send them, hey, here's my address for this house I'm going to list. Will you create postcards, brochures, flyers, everything for me? Sure. It'll be at your house in 5 days.
Right.
Thanks.
And do you find that here at the bank, we have people like that, the graphic people are going to make a flyer or whatever, like when Ricky Caruth was here as a sponsor and they create, some people have to get a little too much involved in the design of these postcards and so forth, versus just letting that person, that creative person that's been hired to do that and paid to do that, come up, this is the latest thing. Now you can go and get it and they're going to have you proof it and just say, well, I'd like you to change this wording a little different and do that. But they're doing 95% of the haul.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't need to be starting from scratch on that. Let them get
Let
the
them
wheel
do their
going.
craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing I see so much in this industry is everybody wants to have their hand on something to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
Let that person do it. They've been doing it better than I can do it, so you do it. And
Right.
if it doesn't look right, I'll let you know, but 99% of the time, it's great.
I think it's easier for guys than the gals. I think just knowing, I know my wife and then looking at myself, I'm like, okay, they designed it. I looked at it. Looks good to me. Because in reality, it's not like someone's going to sit there and study that.
Right.
It's just a flash in front of you. They see Daniel on there. That's the important thing.
That's
Remind
right.
Daniel, real estate. That's all they need to see. At the end, what do I want them to do when they set that postcard aside? Is remember that Daniel is in real estate.
Right.
That's
Is
it.
Clean, does have my name in my face good.
Yeah. And we get a little carried away about, well, they're going to critique the design and the color. Okay. I mean, different opinions.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Most people throw them away. But
Yeah.
it's that 10-second or 5 seconds of looking at it, face recognition, name recognition,
Yep.
trash.
Exactly.
You know, they're not there to study your content. It's there to do a job. And
Yeah, just do the top of mind thing.
Right.
Keep doing the top. What if you could outsource something right now? What's kind of like the next thing spilling over on you right now that you'd like to find somebody to outsource your behind the scenes stuff?
you know, I enjoy the social media, so I probably wouldn't do that. And that is one that we just talked about relationship control, and I can't yet because I am such a stickler for doing things a specific
You do respond
way.
on your Instagram pretty quick.
Yeah, thanks. Which my wife is probably not happy about. But I'd love an assistant or at least a transaction coordinator devoted to me that can do, you know, my emails and
Right.
whatever.
Make sure you know what your appointments are, remind you, or call ahead, say, hey, he's going to be late.
Yeah,
You know, that kind of.
all my back end paperwork stuff, anything like that would be wonderful because that takes up quite a bit of time.
Yeah. Kim Knapp believes that the assistant is the first real hire before a transaction coordinator, which I think is what you're kind of leading to. That you need someone to kind of, I'm not necessarily jack of all trades, but yeah, it's handling more from everything from when your social media should be posted, and
That's right.
you can
iron my day for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a doer. I, make my schedule for me, send this email out, send this, get this addendum drafted, whatever it may be.
Right.
Those are things that take up a lot of my time and don't allow me to be on the field.
Right. There was advice the other day. My wife's an agent, so I was just chatting with her, and she said because everyone talks about these virtual assistants, right? And you can get these great people. They're highly educated over in the Philippines. They have a degree. And be honest with you, my reels and so forth are cut by a gentleman over in the Philippines. He does better than the guys that were doing it here in the States.
Sure.
Actually, I was reviewing one from the last show just before you came here today, and I'm looking at it and go, wow, is it because he has been taught English properly where we're not really?
Right.
And he's able to really just cut that just that good. It was just really good type of thing. But go back to my point. From a real estate agent needing a virtual assistant, one person actually recommended to him, instead of going, the distance, they go, hey, I can hire the cheap person over here, pay the more dollars to hire someone here locally, because they themselves should be marketing you and should hopefully be giving you a handful of referrals throughout the year, which obviously would counter their cost.
That's a good.
It was an interesting point. I was like, well, that's something to think about right there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add? I appreciate you coming on. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, what I'd love to do is every 6 months or just tag them. We can do it virtually. If you're in town to say, hey, I'm coming down, sit down and just do like a 30-minute video update with you. Yeah. Like, hey, this is what's going on in Fernandina. There's this new neighborhood. This is what, some challenges that I've had recently and how I've just kind of like that office talk. I think the more we can share with the other agents it's going to just raise the level of our industry altogether. Some challenges that you had and how'd you overcome it? Just like you were in the office and you were talking to somebody, but obviously not everyone has that chance, but hopefully we can get it out on video and spread it to the world.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
This may be it for today's episode of Real Estate Excellence, but we both know your pursuit of excellence doesn't stop here. To connect with the best of the best and really take your skills to the next level, join our community by visiting TracyHayesPodcast.com, where you'll meet more like-minded individuals looking to expand their inner circle and their personal experience. That's available at TracyHayesPodcast.com.